Transition partners take mental health very seriously. We are now supporting Claro Mental Health Charity, who are local and based in Harrogate. We are working closely with Richard Kenny, who is the IT director at TechBuyer. Claro operates as a commercial workshop making goods for businesses which enable those with long-term mental health conditions to function in a voluntary real work environment. We would love it if you can join us in supporting this amazing cause and charity and donate what you can. Any amount would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, and thanks to all our listeners.
Hi, this is the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. My name's Elly Greening.
And my name's Sandra Stewart.
On this podcast, we will be interviewing some of the UK's greatest tech leaders. We'll be discussing war stories, battle scars, and their learnings from their journeys.
Hopefully, you will pick up some great tips, learn from others' experiences, and have a good laugh along the way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. So today we've got an extremely special guest. We've got Beth Gildersleve, who's the technology director at Sky Betting and Gaming. Beth is a superstar leader who carved her career initially in customer service at the post office to heading up some pretty major programs within the NHS. And now she's fully responsible for the Bet Technology Tribe at one of the UK's fastest paced, fun-loving and customer-focused technology companies. And we cannot wait to hear all about Beth's leadership skills today. So hi, Beth.
Hi, Elly. Hi, Sandra. Thanks for having me.
Hi, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah.
We can't wait to have you on the podcast today. Obviously, we met previously at a Women in Leeds digital meetup, which was it must have been about 10 months ago now. It was just...
I think it was earlier on this year, like January, February time. It might have even been one of our kind of last kind of meetups that we did before COVID.
It must have been.
But yeah, you were sat on a panel, weren't you? And you were fantastic. Like the input that you had was great. Fantastic, great to have you on the show. I know we've kind of tried to get you a couple of times, and so it was fantastic to hear more about you and your leadership style. And I'm sure you've got lots of interesting things that you can share with us. So always like to start these things with a nice sort of open question around you telling us more and the viewers and listeners more about you, your journey, your background, how you got to where you are today, basically. So I shall hand over to the lovely Beth.
Thank you. So yeah, I guess to tell you a little bit about my journey then. So I graduated from university in '97, and I'd studied languages and business. So it was German and Italian, and I didn't really have an idea of what career path I wanted to take. So I ended up, my first full-time job was with the post office in their regional office in Leeds on City Square. And that was in internal communications. So that was working on like communications out to post office branches and also messages within kind of the regional office. And from there I branched off into HR. And I thought that was where my career path was going to be. So I really enjoyed like working with people, doing maternity cases, doing recruitment, and it was just a really good way to meet people in the business and kind of get to know them. And then the post office decided to centralise the HR function. So rather than having them federated across all the different regional offices, they wanted to make it a central function. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to relocate because it wasn't in Leeds anymore. And I got some really good advice from the head of training and learning, a female there, and she was talking to me about the opportunity in this HR function, but she said, I don't think there's probably a better opportunity for you. And what the post office were doing was we're creating kind of a new I suppose a technology function. So at that time, so we're talking about 1999 now, just before the millennium bug, so that myth of millennium bug. So so basically the post office at that time were doing all their accounting and transactions on pen and paper. So they're adding up how many stamps they sold. And what they were trying to do was create like an electronic point of sale retail system, so that, which is now there when you go into the post office, it's all done electronically, you get receipts.
Yeah.
So I was asked to go, what they were calling it, this new service management function. So I was asked to go to kind of be part of that. So my first role in this kind of introduction to IT was working on a service desk, so taking calls from the post office branches about how to use this new system. And it kind of took off from there. I really enjoyed it, and just because it was a new function, it was brand new to the post office, it just created loads of opportunities. So from there I went into like incident and analysis, so looking at all the calls that were coming in, what are the main kind of problems that branches are struggling with on the computer system, to try, I guess, feed in changes for future software releases. And then I went into problem management and did various stuff there. So I really found, really enjoyed this new exciting technology experience. But also what I found was I really enjoyed working and leading people. So it was at the post office I got my first opportunity to manage people. So I was asked to set up an internal complaints team, and I needed to kind of build that, the processes, the purpose, and the team around that. So that gave me a taster. And I kind of found that I really enjoyed that and seemed to be quite good at it. So my kind of career in the post office took off, and I ended up staying in service management, but just kind of taking on broader remits. Like
how many did you have in the team there?
So I started off with, like, there were just 3 of us in the complaints team, and then internal complaints team, and then I kind of ended up over time went to manage 33, and then before I left I was probably running a team of about 10, but they were kind of, it was a totally different remit. I was asked to set up a 24/7 service desk where we were taking calls from different banking providers. So if there was an incident where a banking provider was down, they'd let my team know, so we could manage the communications and tell the post offices that actually you can't take any transactions from Barclays today, they've got a system outage, whatever. So it was managing that. But then I guess it was around 2005, the NHS was going on a massive transformation and had some really exciting opportunities. And they were trying to kind of digitise the whole of the NHS, which again, traditionally paper-based records held at your surgery in the envelopes and hospital envelopes. So I was asked to, so I applied for a role similar to what I've been doing in the post office, which was to work in service management and kind of to deal with problems and incidents of any outages for different national systems. I kind of was staying in the same remit, and I got an opportunity to go work in a different part of the NHS, still in IT, and it was doing deployments. So we were on this ambition to kind of join up all different parts of the health and care system, whether that was your records, whether that was your allergies, what prescriptions you're on. And one of the things I was asked to do was run a deployment team, and this was kind of the first time we ever wanted to deploy a system in a GP or a hospital, going through that, what we called the first of type process. So making sure that it all been tested, that the communications were there, that people had training. So I really loved that. Again, managing a team, working with people, and then I ended up moving on to working projects and programs, and I guess that's probably where the majority of my career was. So leading some really exciting, complicated programs and getting more into kind of digital, so working with front end websites and different stakeholders. So I guess there I ended, I guess I was there for 12 years, so you don't want a potted history of everything I've done. So towards the end, from a program delivery, I was leading some really ambitious, exciting programs to try and help citizens, I guess, manage their health a little bit better, whether that's through wearable technology, whether that was through get self-care, direct them to different tools that were available, I guess, to try and reduce the burden off the NHS. So I had some really great experience there. And then I got an opportunity to join Sky Betting and Gaming, where there was a head of technology role working with kind of third parties, so delivery partners within the Bet tribe. And I really fancied a new opportunity and getting a bit more exposure to in-house development. So I'd got exposure to agile delivery in the NHS, but it was tended to be outsourced, whereas Sky Betting and Gaming had a great reputation about being fast-paced, quick to market, and also having in-house development teams. So it really piqued my interest. I applied for this role and I was successful, and then from there I've ended up as director of technology running the Bet tribe. So there's about 109 people in that tribe, so I've definitely been able to put all my kind of people experience and knowledge that I've built up over the years into practice.
Yeah, fantastic. It's interesting because quite a lot of the leaders that we have on the show generally have come from like technical backgrounds and then worked their way through to leadership. But obviously you were more on that people side, so you learn the people skills, the leadership skills pretty quickly, and I guess a good question, sorry I'm chucking a question in that you're not aware of. A good question to I've got is, do you think that you got to where you wanted to be and in that kind of like senior leadership role quicker because you'd done it the other way around? Do you think like it impacted your progression in a positive way, or?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think probably yes, because I think I'm not a huge technical person. So if I think of technology, everybody thinks about the developers, the people coding and building the programs, but actually service management is part of technology and delivery management is part of technology. So I've got those under my belt, but I guess having the experience of leading and managing teams has definitely helped me, because I kind of guess what I've learned how to get the best out of people, and I think that's kind of probably allowed me to probably accelerate my career. You're probably right.
Fantastic, brilliant. So currently technology director, and did you say was it 109?
Yeah, roughly 100. Well, yeah, 109 people.
Yeah. Wow. So given the size of the role, I think it'd be quite interesting to understand what your pain points and like problem areas and challenges are currently.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same as everybody at the moment, but at the moment it's dealing with the fallout of COVID and remote working. So Sky Betting and Gaming prides ourselves on like collaboration, and there's like only a small number of locations where people work, and it's really been quite difficult to kind of change and adapt our ways of working. So everybody's remote working, and I guess the challenges with that is we've had to think about how do we communicate and how do we get the engagement up. So I think everybody's been in the same place. We've been up and down about how we felt with everything that's going on. So I'd say kind of how we move our workforce to being like more remote over the future is kind of our challenges. And that's not just my challenge, that's the business challenge. But I guess what I'm kind of learning about that is you can't over communicate. It's because it's really easy for people to feel behind the curve, because you can't be on Zoom calls all the time, and you get to, there's a danger that people just assume people know what's happening. So I've really learned we need to kind of over communicate, and I guess what we're trying to do is think about how do we keep people motivated, because I think at the beginning it was really challenging for what was happening in the world. So there was people on different levels of engagement and anxiety, and then we kind of got a bit stable and everybody seemed to kind of adjust to working from home and got a bit of fun and got a bit behind it, but then it's continued. So I guess it's how do we keep that fun and engagement up. So we're trying to look at things around quizzes, like challenges that we can do to keep fit and active. But I guess what it's allowing us to do is kind of think more longer term about what our responsive ways of working is going to be. But that's probably the biggest pain point I've got at the moment, particularly around the engagement.
Yeah, I think it's a huge challenge for people at the moment, isn't it? So completely understandable, and we're all trying to work to improve that, particularly to improve that collaboration piece, which is so important. I'd love to know a little bit more then about your leadership style, Beth, and how you kind of see yourself as a leader and how your teams would describe you as well, because that's really important.
Yeah, no problem. So I guess I would describe myself from a leadership point of view as I'm open and honest. So I'll tell people what I can. Obviously there's sensitivities, but I like to be open about where we're heading, like to be open about how people are doing in terms of their performance, like to be open about how people, where they're doing really well and giving recognition. I like to think that I'm supportive and that I'm hopefully approachable, so anybody can hopefully come and talk to me about a problem or any ideas, and hopefully that they feel comfortable to do so, and I give them the support around that. I feel like I understand my values, and as part of that, I'm sometimes not afraid to be vulnerable. I don't know all the answers. No one knows the answers, but I don't mind saying I don't know the answers, or saying I need some help with this. And I think that's really helped me gel with my immediate team around where they can step in and help, and how we can balance each other's strengths. And I think one thing is I like to give people the opportunity to grow. So get the alignment, this is where we're heading, and kind of let them work on it themselves without me micromanaging, and just empowering them to get on with it. I guess from the team side, I'd like to think they would say she's definitely honest and open with us and supportive, and that she gives us alignment and direction so that we know what we need to do and crack on. But she'll let us know if we're doing a great job, but equally if we need to work on things, she'll tell us. And that hopefully that I'm inclusive and that I like to get everybody's ideas and encourage diversity of thought and get people kind of sharing their ideas and sometimes coming to consensus about how we do stuff, but knowing that I will step in and make the decisions if I need to do.
That's really great. It sounds like you create a really open, inclusive platform, which is super important for your team. I like the fact as well that you were saying about that vulnerable leadership is obviously super important. I think particularly when you were saying part of your success is coming from a management background, people side, moving into technology, because I think there's an element of having to be quite ballsy but vulnerable with that when you do that transition and to do it so successfully, because you do have to be able to say, you have to know that the technical people are the experts and you're there to provide that platform for that. But I think to be able to ask for help is really important. And I think sometimes that's why people shut down the transition of moving into tech, particularly at a later stage, so early, because you do have to be really open, honest and vulnerable as a leader.
Yeah. And it's not easy, is it? I mean, no one wants to say, I don't know the answers or I need some help. But actually, that's how you get the best out of your teams, because everybody brings different skill sets and thoughts. And it's about how you harness that. And sometimes just by letting your guards down and saying, I'm really struggling to get an answer on this, and bringing them into those discussions, I think it also empowers them and really brings them on the journey.
Builds that trust as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. So we always hear rave reviews about the culture you've got at Sky Bet, and I'd love to know a little bit more about why you think it's so special and how you've gone about creating that and adding to it.
Yeah, it's everybody always talks about the culture, and it's really hard, isn't it, to define a culture or to give that secret to everybody. But I guess it's all down to the main thing is people. People are our asset in the company, and hopefully people know that, and that's why people want to work here and want to stay working here. And it's that balance of being really clear about what we're going after as a business, what do we care about, and some of that is being really upfront about us driving the way from the industry about responsible gambling with our customers, so having a forefront around that, because we need to be able to show that we're protecting our customers, and staff and people love to know about that and feel like you're in an entertainment business, but there's still that element to it, and we're really consciously trying to change that. About being yourself, we've got a lot of emphasis around being yourself at work, so everybody's accepted to come to work, be yourself, be your best self, you'll get the support. Making it fun as well. I think we do a lot of fun things that really people buy into. We've just been doing Wheel of Fortune as an engagement thing.
I saw that. I've seen that on LinkedIn before. Yeah,
so just we're focusing on well-being because we know it's difficult at the moment, and we want to make it fun for people to get a reprieve from what's going on out in the big wide world. But I guess just doing things like Wheel of Fortune and winning prizes and just getting that kind of sense of community and chatter among everybody's been really good.
You had a Wheel of Fortune in the office, didn't you? Yeah, I've seen that. Are you doing it virtually now?
Yeah, so it's all virtual. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. But it's fun. So if we've got start of the football season, we'll try and do fun things to promote that, so people just get a bit of energy around it. And I guess the whole thing around collaboration, which we talked about earlier, it's it doesn't matter what your role is in the organisation. Everybody's valued, everybody's opinions are welcomed, and everybody, there's no boundaries. You can go talk to anybody. It shouldn't matter if you're talking to the chief exec or if you're talking to whoever. Everybody's available and wants to collaborate and get the best for our customers and the business and each other.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. Love that. So obviously we've all been experiencing pretty tough times. We've been hit hard by COVID. Is there anything, I think you've kind of touched on this a little bit earlier and just now, but is there anything that you could share that you think you may have done differently to motivate your teams and keep your teams together, focused, motivated? And I know obviously you guys at Sky Bet haven't gone back into the office yet, so what are you on, 6-7 months? I don't even know how long it's been now that you've been working from
Feels like forever.
It does feel like forever. Yeah, so I guess what we just, like I mentioned before, I guess it's about, for me, it's about keeping talking, trying to be visible, checking in with my team, checking in with them, and checking in with other people in different teams about how you're doing, is there any support you need, and just kind of make sure people know that you're still there even if you're not visible in the office. We have a fortnightly huddle, which we had before, so it's nothing new, but we have a fortnightly huddle between the product and tech teams in BET. And we're trying to keep that momentum going around sharing where we are as, you know, as a business, kind of what tools are available from a wellbeing point of view, and also encouraging the team to continue to share the good work that they're doing and get a bit of camaraderie against that. And I think, so there's a bit about the fun as well. So we've tried to do quizzes, like I mentioned, and at the minute we're trying to look at, like, people are a bit bored of quizzes now, or different stuff. So what can we do? So, like, are there any team challenges we could do?
You can do those virtual, like, you know, like the escape rooms now. You can do virtual versions.
Yeah, I fancy one of those. So there's
things. I know. We should do one of those as well with our team, Sandra, because I'm
definitely.
Yeah. So when squads do, like, deliver something great, or someone does a great piece of work, we've got the ability to recognise people, and that's
important.
Yeah, really important. So trying to really hone in on, just because, you know, don't forget to recognise the good work. So we have had a couple of squads doing virtual escape rooms, and one squad created their own murder mystery at a virtual level.
Wow.
Oh, cool. That's good.
Just trying to think of different things, I guess.
It's just trying to mix it up a bit, isn't it?
I think the bit that you said about celebrating success is really important, because that's, I think, like, the first initial lockdown, to be, like, completely honest, we struggled with that, didn't we, Sandra? Because as a business, you're constantly next goal. You kind of get a bit short-sighted and stuck in what's going on, and that's something that we've learned and prepared for the next one, is that we really need to make importance out of celebrating the little successes, because when you're at home on your own, you feel so isolated anyway. So it's definitely a really important point there.
We're also trying to keep an eye on the hours that people are working, because it's quite easy when you're remote working to keep doing a bit more and burn yourself out, and not taking that downtime and looking after yourself. So there's things like, we're looking at that in terms of our delivery teams are kind of, as part of their stand-ups and retros, they're kind of looking at, not just speaking to people and asking them how they are, but looking at the metrics behind it. You can see if people are working longer hours, or they're up at midnight resolving a ticket, you know, just checking that everything's okay. It might be that they've got the flexibility to adapt the working patterns, and it suits their life better. That's absolutely fine. But it's just that balance of making sure people are not putting more hours in just because the laptop's sat on the table.
Yeah, it's quite easy to do though, isn't it? Because I know when I was doing more days at home, I mean, the great thing for me and that I loved was that myself, my husband and my son, we were all having tea together more regularly, which we didn't get to do before. But then I'd end up, like, I'd have my laptop still there, and I'd be cooking, and I'd be going in and out of, like, checking my email, sending a message, and then we'd have our tea, and then I'd end up sitting there again, logging on and doing more work, and it's easily done, isn't it? Whereas now, if I pick my son up from school, go home, make his tea, my laptop stays in my bag. So I do think it's quite easily done, and it's going to become even more so important to monitor that over the coming months as we head into the winter. So it's great, really great that that's something that you're aiming to do and keeping on top of things. How about you? How about yourself? How have you kept yourself focused and just, I guess, remained positive and upbeat? Because it must be, I understand your role, it's a big role, and you've got a responsibility for over 100 people, but what about you? Who looks after you?
Well, like, luckily I'm not living alone. I've got my husband and I've got 2 children, and I was homeschooling as well, so that was a challenge.
Wow.
So I guess that what about me is, like, that takes your mind off things around. I've got a duty of care to kind of look after the kids, and we've had great times, like, as a family. We've never spent as much time together as a family, so that's been a positive. But I guess we've tried to do, well, we were really good to start with, but it kind of faded off, as probably these things do.
Yeah, same here.
Tried to go for, like, daily walks, go for bike rides, when you were allowed to have your hours exercise a day. So we tried to make sure we did that. I guess for me, so, like, spending time with family, I've tried to do that thing about, I tried to put my laptop away at the end of the day as well, because that temptation is always there. I put that away. I've found myself reading like books, watching a bit more TV, playing board game. We like board games in our family, so playing board games. And just having a downtime.
You like Scrabble?
But we're into a game called Carcassonne. It's like a strategy game where you build castles and roads and things like that. But if you don't know it, it sounds complicated, but it's good fun. Games out just to kind of do it as a family. And
sounds like good team building, that.
yeah. And I've really got into doing crosswords again. My mum was saving me the crosswords from the papers. Really random stuff that you just never find time, and I guess it's just weird what you come up with when
taking your mind away from other things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good to be able to focus on something like a crossword. Really, is kind of like mindfulness, isn't it? Because you're focusing on something else. So yeah, it's important to do it, and it's important, like you say, spend some good quality time with the family, which is extremely important. Yeah, so I'd love to find out a little.
Sorry,
sorry.
Also challenging at times because we said we've never spent the time together. It's interesting, and you can, after a while, you can start to get on each other's nerves as well. Like you find your own stuff to do as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you then.
No, of course you can. We've all had them lockdown breakdowns. I think it happened to all of us. So I'd love to know a little bit more about what you're sort of truly passionate about then, and what legacy and impact you'd like to leave.
Yeah. So I'm really passionate about people. I hope that kind of comes through. I love building relationships with new people and really kind of helping people understand kind of where the potential is or where they've got room to grow. I really love all that side because it's great when people are playing stuff back to you, like, and how you've seen the journey they've gone on. I really get excited about that and pride out of that. I guess there's a whole piece about technology is so exciting as well, and being at the heart of stuff in Sky Betting and Gaming is really good because we're looking at how we can take best advantage of new technology. So we're starting to look at things like 5G. How could we harness that? Because obviously, as and when people can start going to football matches and other stuff, we've always had reception signal issues in stadiums. That could be something that's good for us. There's a whole stuff that you can do with voice now. Everybody spends so much time on the phones now, and I guess it's how do we kind of move on with the times and kind of provide those better customer experiences. So there's just loads of stuff, and I still really keep an eye on what's happening in health. You
did your masters as well, didn't you, when you were working in healthcare?
Yeah, I did it in healthcare leadership, which was brilliant. Yeah, really, that was really good because a lot of it was around a theory of leadership. It didn't matter that it was in health. That was like the theoretical side. And then there was like a dual award that was through the NHS Leadership Academy. And that was more like work-based learning. So taking the theory of leadership and applying that to the team. Yeah, and then doing an assignment on it. So,
do you do any like coaching or mentoring, like anything that's a bit kind of more formal externally, or I'm sure you obviously do it as part of your day-to-day role internally?
Yeah, so I've got people internally that I kind of give mentoring to or coaching to. I've not done it externally, but a member of my staff, she's the head of delivery, and she started getting like external people for her team to mentor, and that's been really good. So I think it's something I want to, not necessarily with myself, but something we should explore more, because that you're kind of getting more exposure to different settings and different cultures and ways of working.
I think you'd make a great mentor. Absolutely love your leadership style and how people focused it is. So I just thought, I wonder if you do any mentoring externally.
No, but I'm happy I would love to do that if there's people I can help with. But yeah, because I think
fantastic
value for everybody in doing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sorry, Elly, I butted in a bit.
That's all right, no worries. I'd love them one sort of like top tip around sort of career success from you.
Yeah, hard one. So I never had a career path. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a 5-year plan. A lot of people say you should have one. I didn't. So that hasn't done me any harm. And I guess from like looking back on myself, it's about taking risks and being adaptable and kind of looking at opportunities as they present themselves and think, that I could do that. And I guess I always had, and I still do to some degree, but I always had a bit of an inferiority complex about not being a pure techie. but in a tech role, and particularly more latterly in a tech leadership role, that really bothered me at times. But actually, it doesn't really matter, because it's the whole thing about the team that you build and the people around you and harnessing those skills and strengths. And I've really come to realise that more latterly, in my career. But yeah, I guess it's more about that. You don't think of things on face value. Actually, sometimes you've got other attributes or skills or experience that are just as good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's so many other skills that can add value in technology. And I think your background, if we go way back, all the way to post office, and you were talking about like the customer communication piece, all of that, there's elements there that you've taken the whole way through to your career and you still use every day, I'm sure, at Skybet.
Yeah, but you do forget. You do forget.
So you do forget, don't you? And you need refreshers, and I think that's the thing. Like I ran a taking time in tech meetup yesterday evening, actually, with Leeds Digital Festival, and we were talking about learned and unlearned behaviours and leadership, and it's, we're always learning, and we always need to be continuously learning, because what you might have learned 5, 6, 10 years ago, you do forget, and it's always good to keep continuously learning and refresh yourself on things. On that note, actually, you mentioned before that you like reading. Are there any like top books that you would recommend, I guess probably from a coaching or leadership point of view? Any books or online material or courses, training, anything like that you would recommend to our listeners and viewers?
I've just read recently a really good book. I'm an introvert, and I've just read a book. It's called Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come. And it's an introvert's year of living danger, and it's dangerously, and it's by Jessica Pan. And it's basically a lady that kind of was an introvert, and she spent a year presenting herself as an extrovert and doing different tasks in a year. So I was like amazed. Like, one of the things was doing stand-up comedy, and how she'd force herself to do that, and how she'd learn. And I found that fascinating, because it's just about taking yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's how you learn. So I found that really good, because I could really connect to like some of like all the feelings and anxious and stuff. So that was good. And then there was when I was at the NHS, a former boss, she bought all of her team a book, and it was the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and that was about a female chief exec that had just taken on this dysfunctional team, and it was a bit of pretty much a leadership crisis, and it was going to make or break her. And that was talking through how she built that team and the challenging conversations she had to have, people she had to let go, or basically she said, come with me or leave. And that was really good. I think that was by
give that one a go. It sounds interesting.
I think it was Lencioni, JB Lencioni series. So I think there's an element of like leadership stuff in there, but it's told in a story. So I found that really good to connect with. So that's probably one from old, that like NHS days, that I remember. And then the more recent one was me, introvert, like how can you take risks and do things.
Fantastic, some great recommendations there.
We can all relate to that title, can't we? Yeah. So it's been superb having you on the show. We always love to try and look forward to something or plans that you've got. And so I'd love to know what's the next on your agenda? What have you got planned for the next 12 months? Personally and professionally, what are you super excited about at the moment?
Yeah, well, personally, I'm looking forward to at some point in the next year being able to go on holiday somewhere hot. That's something to look forward to, but obviously can't plan for. So
where are you going to book? Where's the first place when they say you can go?
I think I want to go back to Italy. I love Italy.
Oh, nice. Whereabouts?
I don't mind. I've been to Sicily about 15 years ago. I think I might fancy
that's on my list.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so I think that's where I'd like to go. But obviously, we'll have to have a discussion as a family, because everyone wants to go different places. But yeah, just somewhere hot, somewhere out of the norm, outside of my house. That'd be good. I guess from a work point of view, I don't know if you're aware that Sky Betting and Gaming are now part of the Flutter Group, so that we kind of got acquired earlier this year. So there's loads of opportunities and excitement there about how to bring the two businesses together? How do we create opportunities? It's a global company, so there's loads of exciting stuff there that I'm looking forward to see how that all plays out. And I guess it's just delivering on all the plans we've got afoot in the Bet Tribe. It's kind of a focus and continue to give, like, entertain our customers in a safe way.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I love the fact that you said about in a safe way there, because it's so important, isn't it? And it's so great that you keep that at the forefront of everything you do as a business. So that's fantastic. Yeah, brilliant to have you on the show, and fantastic to have you hear your story, and hopefully as well the fact that you've seamlessly moved into tech and made such a success of it might help inspire others, because that's super important to the message that we like to deliver in everything we do, isn't it, Sandra? So it's been a pleasure having you on the show. If anyone wants to reach out, Beth, can people get in touch on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely, please do. Yeah, happy to speak to people and offer any additional advice or be a sounding board or whatever. Always happy to do that.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Brilliant. It's great to hear all your interesting experiences and learnings along the way. I've made a note of a couple of those books as well. I think I'm particularly the dysfunctional, managing the dysfunctional team. Sounds good.
I'll be
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very much.